This week, on this rainy day, I'm getting inside as soon as I can, the new Honda HRV. There's a couple of things I want to point out about the interior. First of all, this all looks a little bit low rent. Looks a little bit cheap. There's tons of scratchy plastic. Now remember, this is an entry-level car, so I'm not completely surprised. The dash is part LCD. So the bit where the speedo is, there's actually a physical needle, but the dial kind of lights up from behind, and the rest is LCD. Why didn't they just put an LCD screen in right across? This is the newer Honda infotainment system, and it does come with wireless Apple CarPlay, which I rather like. There's only a single zone of automatic climate control, which I find very disappointing. But remember, there is a hybrid model. The prices, it's $36,700 for this model and $45,000 for the hybrid. The hybrid's gonna want to be a pretty good car for it to be worth that. There's plenty of room in the back. That's one thing that these have always been noticed for. And that's a good thing, because you can flexibly store bikes and what have you. God almighty. But listen to this. Oh my God. Sorry about that. My wireless CarPlay kicked in. So after that hullabaloo, it demonstrates the point I'm going to make about CVTs, constantly variable automatic transmissions. This does have a sports setting, but no paddle shifters. So, to be honest with you, I think it's a little bit of a waste of time. Both models have a 1.5 litre four-cylinder, and I think it would be better prepared, certainly in this car, with at least an automatic. There's no manual option, which is a bit of a shame, though chances are nobody would buy it. I am on some fairly tight bends at the moment, and actually it's handling this pretty well. It's a pretty horrible day, as you can see. Honda's always been known for good handling, decent ride, good engines. The model range is ever decreasing. The Jazz is gone and a couple of other models are gone, so no one was buying them. Passenger cars are just out of fashion. And if you think of this more as a high-riding Jazz, you'd be nearer the mark, and it kind of explains why the cabin's a bit poverty-stricken. The seat fabric too is a little bit, I don't know, low rent. But you've still got power windows and all of that sort of stuff. And I was reading in the bump that there's special airflow things, which I presume is in the hybrid model, because it certainly isn't in this. And it makes air come from the vents like a cool summer breeze. Down on the center console, we've got a couple of USBs. Now remember, you only need those for power because you've got wireless Apple CarPlay. Let me go and punch in into my saved places, and it's going to take me to where I want to go. It's going to take me 55 minutes to get there. What we've used the Honda for this week is the sort of stuff you do. I've had a couple of people in the back. I've done an airport run. And although the luggage area isn't as big as it has been in some of the past Honda SUVs, it still did a fair whack. Certainly cope well with shopping. And I think if you were just to use this car around town, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't actually notice that it's got a CVT. You'd probably think it was a normal automatic, unless you're taking off at lights, in which case you'll have that hullabaloo. There are some of the driver and safety aids that are only in the top models. I really would like to see that in every model. Let's see if putting it in Sport makes any difference to the acceleration. No. Jeez. I mean, it steps up, but that's just horrible. Now we're at the speed limit, still in drive, and I've activated the cruise control. Now I've activated the lane control as well. This is kind of steering me in the lines. Probably not quite as good, frankly, as the Koreans. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes the Japanese have made, is taking their eyes off the Koreans that have now surpassed them, all of them. Doesn't matter who they are. I want to talk a little bit about the looks. I do not know what the designers were thinking. This car doesn't go to America, so it's not for the American market. That front, that grille, it looks like Mrs. Mangle's Venetians. It's just wrong. It needs to be black or chrome or something. It needs a garnish. The front just looks too plain. It's got LED lights, but it just looks too plain. The side view, it's got this odd, funny wedge shape with still concealed door handles, but it seems to have lost some of the charm that the previous model had. The ZRV has been confirmed for Australia, and Honda thinks that that may well become its bulk model. It's the model it sells most of. So they're placing a lot of faith in one model. And now Honda only sells cars through the agency model. In other words, Honda owns all of the cars, the fleet, what's on the dealer showroom floor, and in fact you can't really even call them dealers anymore because they don't make deals. It's all made through the Honda website, and the only way that the dealer could give you a deal is on your trade-in if you've got one. The other things I'm disappointed with is that at least in this model there is room in the back for a spare, but there isn't one. And I've never had one of those repair kits work, ever. I always finish up being on the side of the road waiting for the NRMA man to turn up and get me out of strife. Now I'm in a school zone, so I've got to slow down to 40. Great time to use your cruise control. The front suspension is McPherson strut, but the rear is that torsion bar setup, which I'm not terribly fussed on. It can be a little choppy if you hit bumps in corners. But one thing I do like is that the lane change assist cuts out below 72 kilometers an hour. Now in some brands, what happens is you go into a corner and indicate, and it's beeping telling you there's somebody in the lane next to you. You know there's someone in the lane next to you, but it thinks you're actually changing lanes, not going around a corner.
Looks are a matter of opinion, so let's add Kia's recently revamped Seltos Plus and the all-new Chery Omoda 5 for comparison. The Kia and the Chery both look more modern and interesting inside and out. Although the Honda offers a hybrid, the Hondas have the lowest power output yet the highest price. And only the Seltos adds all-wheel drive and a proper 8-speed automatic in place of that CVT. Finally, the fully digital cabins of both the Seltos and the Omoda 5 outclass the HRV in looks, function and feel.
The performance, I think, is adequate, just. And they do that because they want to give you decent fuel consumption. Well, my fuel consumption is 6.9 litres per 100 kilometres. I've got a tiny tank, about 2/3 of a tank. I've got 303 kilometres. There is inbuilt navigation, so should your phone not be working, at least you'll still have navigation, and there's digital radio as well, so you're not totally bereft. It is a very, very odd mix of the good and the not so good. Well, that's all for the HRV this week. As always, hit like, leave a comment, and just there to subscribe.